Welcome viewers to Shintigercurl'S Guide to One Piece. Today we look at Marine Admiral Kizaru, first mentioned by Nico Robin just after the Davy Back fight arc during the Straw Hats' first encounter with Admiral Aokiji. He can be considered a secondary antagonist of the Shabayondi Archipelago arc and one of the major antagonists of the Marine Ford arc. He is the only admiral to have retained his position as admiral after the time skip, with Aokiji resigning from the Marines and Akainu being promoted to fleet admiral. Real name Borsalino, alias Kizaru, the Yellow Monkey. Affiliations: Marine/World Government. Rank: Admiral, former Vice Admiral. Age: 56 as of the debut, 58 as of the post-time skip. Status: alive. Birthday: November 3rd. Devil Fruit powers: Pika Pika no Mi, aka Glint Glint Fruit. Logia type. Admiral Kizaru is shown to be an incredibly tall man, roughly the same size as the other two former admirals. Being the oldest of the original admiral trio shown in the manga, Kizaru is shown to be a man of moderately middle age with a moderate amount of wrinkles on his face, black hair, and a very thin beard. Among all the admirals of that previous generation, he alone had the slimmest build. Consistent with his code name of Kizaru, meaning Yellow Monkey, his outfit reflects it as such, as he wears a yellow pinstripe suit with a marine coat draped over his shoulders, worn like a cape, but without his arms inside the sleeves. He accentuates this outfit with pure white shoes, gold amber tinted sunglasses, and a dark green shirt with a mauve tie underneath his yellow shirt. He also has a tiny black denden mushi on his left wrist, worn like a wristwatch that is hidden underneath his suit. He can often be seen with a very relaxed grin and a lackadaisical expression on his face. Kizaru's personality can be described as very laid back and easygoing, which is strange considering that his behavior is very much a stark contrast to his own devil fruit powers. He takes everything extremely light regardless of the severity of the moment. He is almost never shocked and almost never shocked no matter of the situation, whether it's surprising, perilous, or unexpected. Even when a pirate fired a bullet at him, he seemed more focused on finding his subordinate Sentimaru, even going so far as to ask the offenders where his subordinate was. After uprooting a mangrove tree, he laughed to himself about the force that he used that was a little tad excessive. His speaking pattern is very slow and lax. In the Japanese anime, he frequently began his sentences with a long, drawn-out "ooh," generally upon observing something that has piqued his interest, and dragging out the last syllable, which is typically "nay." Kizaru has also a completely calm and cool-headed personality in even the most tensest of situations, such as when he faced off against one of the 11 supernovas, Basil Hawkins, or when Silver's Rayleigh appeared. He also speaks in a very politely sarcastic manner and tends to be very mocking of his opponents, such as when they don't exactly meet to his high standards. He taunted Roronoa Zoro during their initial encounter for how weak he was, despite his infamy as a legendary swordsman. Keep in mind, Zoro was near death at this point, so he really couldn't put up much of a fight. Unfortunately for the world government, though, Kizaru can be extremely absent-minded and irresponsible, judging by the fact that he used a lot of power at a kick directed at a few escaping pirates, knocking down the surface of a large mangrove tree in the Shabayondi Archipelago. This is further exhibited by the simple fact that he tried to call Sentimaru on his black denden mushi. A black denden mushi is used primarily for intercepting communications instead of two-way reception. He also seems to be the type of man to prefer his real name Borsalino rather than his alias of Kizaru. He also seems to take his duties as a Marine very seriously, as he was the one who volunteered to be dispatched by Sengoku to deal with the incident at the Shabayondi Archipelago, partially to fulfill his duty as an admiral, and because he was under the impression that a trip to the place to expel the pirates would be very relaxing. This relaxing attitude was dispelled when Silver's Rayleigh came out to confront him. If nothing else, Kizaru, surprisingly enough, is actually more lax than Aokiji, even in some of his duties. When he attacked the sub carrying Luffy, Jinbei, and Law towards the end of the Whitebeard War that escaped Marineford, he commented that even if they sunk, it would be okay, but if they survived, he'd be okay with that too, completely regarding that of his carefree attitude. Kizaru is not a proponent, has no sympathy for or against the philosophy of absolute justice, as his fellow Admiral Akainu and several other militant branches of the Marines seem to prescribe to. However, his careless behavior hides a very malicious streak, as he shows a complete lack of mercy towards his opponents, particularly against pirates who he has personally targeted. When he was confronted by Silver's Rayleigh, the former first mate of the Jolly Roger pirates, who had been retired for over 20 years, he still wanted to pursue him because, under his understanding, even as a member of the Rogers pirates, his crimes could never be forgiven. Following the events of the Shabaoni archipelago, Kizaru managed to arrest 500 pirates easily. And his ruthless nature was seen more when he faced off against Little Oars Jr. in the Whitebeard War. Even though the giant was dying, having lost a leg, Kizaru showed absolutely no mercy towards him, and even offered to go ahead and blast him in the skull to kill him just outright. Also, like many of the members of the Marines, he has a very low view of the Seven Warlords of the Sea, noting that they are pretty much nothing. They are pretty much no more than just regular old pirates, even if they are working for the world government. Kizaru also has a habit of commenting on some of the abilities of his opponents, most notably saying how frightening they are. In one instance, after witnessing the power of the Devil Fruit abilities of 3 of the 11 supernovas on the Shabaondi archipelago, he referred to them as monsters. Although he himself was far stronger than them, their attacks were completely unfazing him, and he showed his power by completely and utterly dominating the said supernovas. Another is when he tried to attack Whitebeard directly. It was 1st Division Commander Marco who intercepted the attack, at which point Kizaru noted how scary the Whitebeards and pirates were. And when Luffy launched himself towards the execution platform and stood before all 3 admirals, Kizaru commented that he was scary. Because of his deadpan expression on his face and his usual lackadaisical tone of voice, it is extremely unclear whether or not these exclamations of fear at the strength of his opponents is him mocking them or if he's just very serious. No one can tell for sure. As a Marine Admiral, Kizaru has absolute authority over all lower-ranking Marine officers within the organization. His authority is second only to the Fleet Admiral, who has absolute authority over all Marines within the Grand Line itself. He also seems to possess at least above-average leadership and coordination skills, as he was seen organizing large regiments of Marine soldiers easily and efficiently. He also has the ability to initiate a buster call on any island that he deems a threat to world security. He can also grant this particular bonus to any world government agent he so wishes. Also, as an admiral, he has the power to revoke the title of a warlord at any time of his choosing. His mere presence at the Shabaoni archipelago was enough to cause a mass panic on the island, causing the entire population to flee, including members of the 11 supernovas. The 11 supernovas being 11 rookie pirates whose bounties have exceeded the 100 billion buried threshold. He was even able to defeat 3 of the 11 supernovas before his encounter with the Straw Hats, although he did have some backup in the form of a pacifista. He also possesses extraordinary speed and precision. This, combined with his fighting prowess, makes him one of the most powerful and dangerous fighters in the world government and the Marines, fitting of someone who is called an admiral. Even as a vice admiral, Kizaru was powerful, as he was able to quickly and effortlessly defeat Arlong of the Sun Pirates. As a Marine admiral, Kizaru is considered one of the strongest fighters within both the world government and the Marines. He possesses tremendous physical strength, capable of holding down Whitebeard's Bicento battle spear with a single foot, and was capable of fighting both Rayleigh and Whitebeard equally, despite both the other two having haki abilities. Kizaru was even struck by Marco the Phoenix with a haki-imbued kick and sustained little to no damage from the physical blow. He also seems to possess acute hearing, as he, along with the other admirals, were able to detect underwater activity just before the Whitebeard War outbreak began. As mentioned, he has great physical durability, as he was able to withstand blows from even haki-imbued kicks and punches and come out without much of a scratch. He also possesses great accuracy and precision, as he was capable of delivering attacks from long distances away with frightening precision. He was able to destroy one of the keys to Ace's shackles that was in Luffy's hands from at least a fair distance away, making him a terrifying opponent to deal with. Kizaru ate the Pika Pika no Mi, also known as the Glint Glint fruit in English. It is a Logia-class devil fruit that allows him to create, control, and transform into the element of light. Interesting little side note here, the phrase Pika Pika is a Japanese onomatopoeia for glimmering or shining light. Interesting, isn't it? Because of his ability to transform into an element of light, Borsalino can utilize light-based attacks, such as shooting laser beams from his hands, fingers, or feet, all of which can cause massive explosions. He can even partially transform himself to enable physical attacks to connect at an incredibly high rate of speed. His reflexes are also so quick that he can transform into light to completely bypass any and all physical attacks, even ones that he's not aware of. He can use this to avoid normal attacks by transforming into light, allowing the attack to go straight through his body. You'll find that this is a trait of a lot of Logia-class Devil Fruit users. He can also travel at the speed of light by reflecting himself off any mirrored surface to any location he desires. Because of the very nature of the fruit, Borsalino might possibly be the fastest man in the entire world, since nothing is faster than the speed of light. Although there are some downsides to it, though. Silver's Rayleigh was able to use his haki to bypass Borsalino's tangibility and divert some of his attacks. Since his fruit is light-based, some of his attacks, like lasers, can only travel in straight lines, and he himself can move at the speed of light, as mentioned above, by shining a light on a desired location by reflecting off surfaces, which this does take time to do. He also suffers from the standard Devil Fruit weaknesses. As far as usage goes, he's been able to use it to, as mentioned, travel at the speed of light, to the point where he called Monkey D. Luffy in his Gear Second mode too slow, and he can use it to drastically augment the strength of his kicks. Even though he travels in light speed while mobile, it should be noted that it takes a few seconds for him to actually go to light speed, as it's easy for someone with sufficient enough reaction and speed to intercept him before he actually gets a chance to do anything. Borsalino's also been able to use his fruit to launch powerful light beams at high speeds from his legs that have explosive properties. His beams also seem to have piercing properties when shot from his fingers. He can blind and stun his opponents by emitting a large but quick burst of light from his fingers, similar to a flash grenade. He can even form a beam of pure light, sort of like a beam sword or a lightsaber, if you will. It should be noted that his Devil Fruit was actually further researched by Dr. Vegapunk, the world's premier scientific genius, who was able to technologically recreate his lasers and build them into his pacifistas, particularly Bartholomew Kuma and those with his likeness. It should be also noted that Frankie of the Straw Hat Pirates was able to use this light-based technology in his own cyborg body. As far as techniques go, here's an interesting little tidbit that you probably didn't know. All of Borsalino's techniques are derived from the Shinto religion's deities or from Japan's three sacred treasures mythos. They are, but not limited to, the Yata no Kagami, which translates to eight-span mirror. He forms a beam of light between his hands and reflects it off of any surface he wishes. He then transforms into the light in order to get to his desired location. He first used this against Scratchman Apu. Amaterasu, also meaning heavenly illumination. By pointing his index and middle finger into the air or at his enemies in the form of a peace sign, he emits a powerful blinding flash of light that can blind his opponents or anyone who just happens to be unlucky enough in the vicinity. He first used this against Basil Hawkins, aiming it directly into the pirate's eyes. The Amano Murakamo, literally meaning the sword of gathering clouds of heaven, is where he aforementioned creates the light beam sword. He forms a long, very sharp sword out of light and solidifies it, and it was first used against Silver's Rayleigh in the Shabayoni Archipelago arc. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, Yashakani no Magatama, or Kama Jewel of the 8 Shaka. Borsalino crosses his arms in front of him and using both his hands to fire a torrent of deadly light particles, causing extreme damage to whatever they hit. He can control the spread of this attack, or either limit it to a single person or covering an extremely large area of effect. It also seems to have great piercing properties, capable of penetrating dozens of feet of thick ice and even piercing into deep water with ease. He first used this against Whitebeard, but the attack was blocked by Marco the Phoenix. And here's some interesting little trivia about his devil fruit powers. Borsalino ate this fruit at no older than the age of 46, as he first was seen in a flashback shooting down Arlong with a laser beam more than 20 years prior to the story. Borsalino's fight with Rayleigh could be a reference to a phenomenon of light scattering named the Rayleigh scattering. And here's an interesting one. Considering Admiral Akainu's Inugami Guren and Megu attacks, Aokiji's Ice Block Pheasant Beak attack, and Fujitora's Fierce Tiger attack, Borsalino is the only admiral that has not yet used an attack that is a reference to his animal epithet. In canon, anyway. As stated to Kobe just after the Whitebeard War, it's revealed that all Marine officers of Vice Admiral rank and higher possess the ability to use Haki. So, thus, as a Marine Admiral, Kizaru too can use this ability. He was first seen using Armament Haki to negate Whitebeard's attempt to destroy the execution platform by creating, with his fellow admirals, a shield combination of their 3 Hakis. It also seems that Kizaru has shown considerable skill with the sword, using his Amano Murakumo, which is the aforementioned Sword of Light, by his devil fruit powers, which he was able to duel against Silver's Rayleigh to a draw, despite the loss of his intangibility. Now, not much is known about Borsalino's actual past, where he came from, what island he was born on, any surviving family, and what inspired him to become a Marine. What we do know that he has been an active Marine for over 3 decades, as he was first seen in a brief flashback in the One Piece Zero chapter to promote the movie One Piece Strong World. He was seen in the company of a lot of high-ranking Marine officers when they were having a meeting to decide what to do about the Battle of End War, which was a battle between Gold Roger and his pirate crew and the fleet armada of pirate ships under the command of Shiki the Flying Pirate. Now, this collection of Marine officers included Vice Admiral Garp and future Fleet Admiral Sengoku. So we can kind of assume from this time period that Borsalino was at the very least a commodore, or maybe even as low as a captain. Maybe not as a vice admiral, because he wasn't particularly named as a vice admiral. So we can automatically assume his standing with the Marines was high enough to warrant him being in that position where he could be considered amongst the higher echelon of the Marine organization. He doesn't get a full-on entrance until the flashback to the time of the Sun Pirates, led by former world noble slave Fisher Tiger. The Marine officer Strawberry reported to now Vice Admiral Borsalino that Rear Admiral Kondar's ship had been sunk. Borsalino commented how troublesome and scary the Sun pirates were, while usually acting with his usual calm and dispassionate personality. He doesn't show up again until after the people of Full Shout Island sold out Fisher Tiger after he brought back their one daughter, Koala, who had stayed aboard their ship. He was ambushed and afterwards died of his injuries. Kizaru would later show up after this event would happen when Arlong, a member of the Sun Pirates and friend of Fisher Tiger, attempted to attack the inhabitants of Full Shout Island. It was around this time that we can assume that he ate his devil fruit, since he attacked Arlong with a laser beam to the shoulder. Borsalino taunted Arlong that the fact that the Sun Pirates were supposed to be an incredibly badass crew, and he expressed surprise and shock that that Fisher Tiger himself actually passed away. Just after this, he took Arlong to the Marine Station G2 for further interrogation, and that is the last we see of him until his proper introduction in the Shabayondi Archipelago arc. Now, Kizaru doesn't make his proper debut until the midway point of the Shabayondi Archipelago arc, when Luffy creates an international incident by punching out one of the world nobles, an offense punishable by immediate arrest by a Marine admiral. Kizaru himself decides to volunteer for this mission personally, to not only out of obligation as a Marine admiral, but because he felt that going to such a nice and sunny place and taking down some rookie pirates would be very relaxing. Just outside the human auction house that the Straw Hats were holed up in, alongside several high-ranking rookie pirates themselves, the Marines talk about that Kizaru was on his way, alongside with several special troops. This can be assumed that the troops were in fact the pacifistas, the special cyborg creatures created in the image of Bartholomew Kuma and built by Dr. Vegapunk. Now, he arrives at Grove 27, I believe, riding on a cannonball, as you can clearly see here. And he begins by immediately trying to contact his subordinate Sentomaru, who is Dr. Vegapunk's bodyguard, as well as the man in charge of the pacifistas while they're in the field. Unfortunately, the black transponder stele that he's using is used for intercepting communications rather than two-way communication, so there was no way he could actually communicate with his subordinate. While he's trying to do so, two unnamed pirates attempt to make a name for themselves by taking out an admiral, opening fire on him twice, both times the rounds passing through his head, completely unfazing him. Now, Kizaru was either oblivious to this attack, or he just didn't pay it any mind because the two men were so low ranked they didn't have names. But either way, this shows them just how dangerous he was and forced the two pirates to flee. Kizaru intercepts them, asking them where Sentomaru was. They offer no answer and run away in terror. He decides to try to stop them by firing a laser from his feet, missing the pirates and hitting one of the mangrove trees, utterly destroying it. The Marines around who witnessed this event, as well as Kizaru himself, comment that it was a very reckless and an overdose, and it was a completely uncalled for show of power, is what I mean. It was just completely unnecessary for two low-ranking pirates. Now, Kizaru doesn't show up again until he confronts Basil Hawkins, the captain of the Hawkins pirates, and one of the 11 supernovas. The 11 supernovas being the 11 rookie pirates who were on the Shabayondi Archipelago at the same time, whose bounties eclipsed the 100 million berry threshold. He asks him where Sentomaru is, like he's been doing for the past couple of minutes, but Hawkins doesn't pay attention as he's using his tarot cards to try to see what his chances are against a Marine admiral. when Kizaru says that if he can't find Shintimaru, then he'll get bored, and if he gets bored, then he'll go after he can't just let a bounty like Hawkins go away. So he decides to fight the young pirate, making the famous comment, "Speed is weight," and asking him if he's ever been kicked at the speed of light. Now, he follows this up, of course, with a kick enhanced by his devil fruit powers, but surprisingly, Hawkins is completely unaffected, using his unnamed devil fruit power as of this time to completely deflect the attack and transfer the damage to one of his crewmates, completely shocking and surprising Kizaru, surprisingly. The two of them have a small scuffle until the battle is joined again by two more of the 11 supernovas, the Mad Monk Uruj, captain of the Mad Monk Pirates, and Diaz Drake, captain of the Drake Pirates. He also makes a comment that Drake was in fact an ex-Marine, calling him by his former Marine title of Commodore. The trio is easily taken out by Kizaru, with him blinding Hawkins, shooting Drake in the chest while he's transformed and using his Zoan fruit powers, and kicking Uruj through several buildings. Now, just before he's able to land any kind of killing blow, another of the 11 supernovas, the Roar of the Sea Scratchman Apu, captain of the On-Air Pirates, decides to take a shot at the Admiral. Using his what I can assume is his musical-based devil fruit powers, he not only is able to cut off the Admiral's arm, but blows up his entire upper portion of his body. While he is proud that he was able to land a successful attack on a Marine Admiral, he knows well enough that such an attack would not keep him down for long, and so he decides to just make a run for it. True to his predictions, Kizaru, not really all that surprised or even really injured by the attack, pulls himself together using his light-based powers, intercepts Apu, and attacks him. It is around this time that Shintimaru finally gets in contact with him, asking him which of the three offending pirates, this being Monkey D. Luffy, the Straw Hat Pirates, Eustace Captain Kidd of the Kidd Pirates, and Trafalgar Law of the Heart Pirates. We only get the answer much, much later, and we skip over to the Straw Hats, who by this time had come face to face with the Pacifista. Despite the overwhelming power and durability of the cyborg, the Straw Hats, using their best techniques and powers, were able to finally defeat it, but only barely, as they were left completely and utterly exhausted after the battle, even Luffy commenting that anyone could come and capture or kill them right now if they could. Just then, Shintimaru, alongside another pacifista, arrives and engages the Straw Hats in battle. Despite Luffy's best efforts, Shintimaru shows off his Haki abilities and utterly dominates Luffy, with the other Straw Hats barely able to hold their own against another pacifista. Then Kizaru shows up. Despite their own best efforts and attacks against him, they are unable to harm him in any conceivable way, as he decides to target Roronoa Zoro for execution, even commenting how disappointed he is in Zoro's apparent inability to fight back, because, Zoro was pretty injured from the events of the Thriller Bark arc, so he wasn't exactly at 100%. Not that it really mattered at that point, because they really couldn't had a way to fight Kizaru. Just as he was about to kill the swordsman, his attack was intercepted by Silver's Rayleigh, the coding mechanic who had befriended the Straw Hats, and who was also the former first mate of the Jolly Roger pirates under the late Pirate King Gold Roger. Kizaru attempts to intercept Brook and Usopp as they try to escape with Zoro, but his attack is cut short as the beam of light he was traveling on was cut by Rayleigh's saber. He then forms his own saber using his light powers, and the two have an impromptu duel, pretty much ending with a stalemate. Now the Straw Hats, realizing that they were no match for a pacifista, Shintimaru, and a Marine Admiral, decide to split up. It was only then that they were treated to the arrival of Bartholomew Kuma, the original pacifista, a notorious former pirate in his own regard and one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Using his paw fruit powers, he individually selects, hunts down, and finds each of the Straw Hats and teleports them away with his abilities, sending them to a portion of the One Piece world, leaving Luffy behind as the last member to leave. This is considered by many to be the worst defeat that the Straw Hat Pirates have ever suffered. Now, Kizaru was curious why Kuma was there. He was supposed to be at Marineford in preparation for the war with the Whitebeard pirates. When he asked the warlord why he was there, Kuma offered no answer and merely left. Now, at this point, we follow Luffy on his journey on Amazon Lily, so we don't know exactly what happened after they leave, but we do know a few details about what Kizaru did. According to a newspaper that Luffy read, Kizaru then proceeded to capture over 500 pirates, not any of them being one of the supernovas. After this, he proceeded to head to Marineford, where he, along with the other admirals, prepared to do battle with the strongest pirate crew in the world, the Whitebeard pirates, in a war that would shake the very foundations of the One Piece world. Now, Kizaru is seen alongside the other 3 admirals taking their seats just underneath the execution platform before Porgas D. Ace's scheduled execution. Just before the arrival of the Whitebeard pirates, Kizaru talks that he has a bad feeling about this war, but says it in his usual calm and cheerful way. He even remains so after seeing Whitebeard appear in the middle of the bay and using his devil fruit powers to create 2 massive tidal waves that tower over the island of Marineford itself. He's not only not concerned about it, but he seems happily astonished by this. Now, Kizaru officially joins the battle by abandoning his position and deciding to take the fight directly to Whitebeard himself, launching an array of light beam attacks from his Yashakani no Magitama. The attack was only intercepted by Marco the Phoenix, one of Whitebeard's division commanders. Using his unique legendary, his mythical Zoan-type devil fruit, which is of a phoenix, he is not only able to block and absorb the attack, but he was relatively unharmed. The Admiral and the division commander then have a small scuffle, with Marco landing a haki-imbued kick on the Admiral, causing him to crash to the ground below, but was relatively unharmed. When Luffy and the other escapees from Impelled Down arrive, this throws pretty much everyone for a loop, including Kizaru. You have to also consider the fact that the last time he had seen him, his crew were barely able to put up an attack barely able to put up a fight against him, and that they were scattered to the 4 corners of the world by Bartholomew Kuma. He even comments that he didn't really think they'd meet again, but nevertheless, he happily receives the orders from Sengoku, the fleet admiral of the Marines, to execute every single escapee from Impelled Down, including Luffy. He tries to kick a laser beam at Luffy, but the attack is intercepted by his friend and member of the Revolutionary Army, Imperial Ivankov, him using his patented Death Wink. He's later seen ordering several Marines to attack Luffy, and later shown himself to be fighting directly on the battlefield, wiping out pirates left and right with his light-based attacks. Later on, Sentomaru arrives at the battle with an entire platoon of pacifista robots. Kizaru tells him not to mind the destruction of their own battleships if it comes to that, but urges him not to destroy too many. Later on, Luffy actually makes a mad dash for the platform, but is repelled by Kizaru himself with a kick. After this, 7 of Whitebeard's various division commanders are seen charging him, and he shows quote-unquote terror at this, because, well, Kizaru's personality, you're not sure whether he's trolling people or whether he was legitimately scared. When Whitebeard fires a shockwave at the execution platform, Kizaru and the other two admirals use their armament haki to block it, but it still destroys a good chunk of Marineford's residential block. He also tells Akainu that because of the ice that was created by Aokiji using his powers to stop the massive tidal waves from destroying Marineford, that they couldn't raise the siege wall that they were planning to use to corral and contain the pirates themselves. Another factor was Little Oars Jr., who had been fatally wounded during a clash with several members of the Seven Warlords, and even Kizaru even offers to finish him off, aiming for a precise shot to his head. He is interrupted when Luffy is thrown over the wall by Jinbei, the fishman ally of his, using his water powers to throw him over the last line of defense for Marineford, and bringing out broken pieces of a ship's mast along with him. It's here that Kizaru comments on how utterly frightening Luffy is. Now, Luffy decides to activate his Gear Second mode, which allows him to move faster than the eye can see, and tries to escape the three admirals, but Kizaru merely says that Luffy's too slow and sends him flying with a light kick. Again, Luffy tries to run for the execution platform, but is knocked down by Vice Admiral Momonaga. And then this causes Kizaru to attack him again, chiding him, saying that even if he has all the guts in the world, without any strength, he is useless and can't save anyone. He then casually kicks Luffy into the waiting arms of Whitebeard, who Kizaru chides for letting young trash like Luffy lead such an important charge. When Marco rushes to see Whitebeard after seeing him cough up blood due to using his powers in his advanced age, Kizaru attacks him from behind with several laser beams, similar to what he did to Luffy. Later, he's seen stabbing the 1st Division commander again with one of his beams, this time with the help of Vice Admiral Onigumo, who disables Marco's Devilfruit powers with a pair of sea stone handcuffs when Marco wasn't paying attention. It's around this time that Luffy, seeing that they're about to execute Ace, unleashes his Haoshokuka Haki, rendering several pirates and marines alike unconscious. Kizaru then comments on Luffy's fearsome power, and the closer he gets, Kizaru even attempts to stop him once again, but is attacked by Whitebeard himself. Although Newgate was able to intercept him, Kizaru was able to damage him by shooting a beam right through his chest. Seeing that Luffy had a key to free Ace from his sea stone handcuffs, Kizaru was able to hit a laser beam with stunning distance and accuracy, destroying it, but his efforts were nullified by Galdino, otherwise known as Mr. 3 formerly of Baroque Works, who uses his his wax fruit powers to make a new key. Now, there are some differences that was shown in the anime. In the anime, after Whitebeard witnesses Kainu deal the fatal blow to Ace, he shoots a beam through Kizaru shoots a beam through his left arm, telling him not to interfere, thus turning the wrath of the captain on himself. After Whitebeard's death and Law's arrival, Kizaru's new target is Luffy. Buggy himself, helping Luffy escape from the battle, is clipped by one of Kizaru's laser attacks and flees in terror. He tries to attack Law's submarine before he escapes, but is suddenly intercepted by the appearance of Ben Beckman, the first mate of the red-haired pirates, pointing a rifle at him and warning him not to move, which Kizaru surprisingly complies with by putting up his hands. However, Beckman's presence didn't deter Kizaru, as he made one last attempt on Luffy's life. With Aokiji's efforts, he uses his Magatama attack to rain down hundreds of light beams to try to destroy Law's submarine. He simply states afterwards that if they survived, they were just extremely lucky. Thus, the conflict ends thanks to the efforts of red-haired Shanks and Fleet Admiral Sengoku, the latter of whom declaring that the war is over, and thus Kizaru stands down from the battle. And this is the last time officially in canon that we see Admiral Kizaru. But we still do know that he is still a Marine Admiral. As mentioned before, Aokiji resigned, and Akainu had been promoted to Fleet Admiral afterwards. And now it's time for some One Piece trivia. Yes, this is where we talk about the little unknown and interesting aspects of this particular character. So let's get started. First up, the model for Kizaru's face is the Japanese actor Kune Tanaka. Along with that, Kizaru's clothes, real name Borsalino, and birthday are apparently based on a movie character that Tanaka played in his youth. The character, Borsalino, is from an old Japanese film, Truck Yaro, who wore a suit and sunglasses similar to Kizaru's design. As you can see on the screen, the resemblance is virtually uncanny. When Nico Robin first mentioned Kizaru and the three admirals in general, they were only shown in silhouette. Kizaru's silhouette was shown wearing some kind of large hat. It's actually a reference to the Italian hat company Borsalino, from which Kizaru's real name is also apparently derived. In chapter 622 of the manga, it's shown that Kizaru wore this hat when he was still a vice admiral. Kizaru's lazy and easygoing demeanor is something of a reference to the main character's approach to crime from the 1970 French film Borsalino of the same name. His epitaph, along with the other admirals, Aokiji, Akainu, and Kizaru, are all taken from the Momotaro legends of Japan. The monk Momotaro met a pheasant, a dog, and monkey as friends to accompany him on his journey. As mentioned before in the Devil Fruit section, Kizaru's techniques are based on the three sacred treasures of Japan. In the 5th fan poll, Kizaru was named the 44th most popular character in One Piece. When he appeared on the Shibuya archipelago, he was riding a cannonball, which could possibly be a subtle reference to the literary character Baron Munchausen. And similar to Akainu, Kizaru was also depicted in non-canon sources with a post-time skip appearance that later to be proved inaccurate to his actual appearance, including episode of Luffy, One Piece film Z, One Piece Pirate Warriors 2, One Piece Unlimited World Red, and One Piece Pirate Warriors 3. In these sources, Kizaru is seen wearing a turtleneck under his suit rather than his usual shirt and tie, which he continued to wear even after the time skip in the manga. However, unlike Akainu, this design came from a sketch drawn by Oda himself specifically for the movie One Piece film Z, which is odd, considering that the sketch he provided of Aokiji's post-time skip design for the film was accurate to his actual appearance in the manga. Well, I hope you enjoyed this profile of one of the Marines' most powerful and funniest characters, Admiral Kizaru. If you've liked what you've seen, link, comment, subscribe below. Got any questions, comments, or better yet, if you have a suggestion for a future episode of my guide to One Piece, leave it below in the description below. So, with that in mind, thank you for watching, have a good day, and see you next time on Shintigercurl'S Guide to the World of One Piece.